I'm Kyra.
I'm Monica.
And I'm Belle.
Did you know that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men have been sexually abused before the age of 18 in the United States? There are currently more than 42 million adult survivors. You may ask, what is sexual abuse? Well, it is any type of sexual activity between a minor and an adult, or two minors when one forces it on another. Some types of sexual abuse are touching, non-touching, exhibitionism, exposure to pornography, pornography of a child for sexual gratification, solicitation of a child for prostitution, and sexual communication by phone, internet, or face-to-face. 73% of people stay silent about their abuse for at least a year, and 45% do not even say anything for at least 5 years.
Are there certain factors that make children more vulnerable to sexual violation? The short answer is yes. Perpetrators report that they look for passive, quiet, troubled, and lonely children, specifically from a single parent or a broken home. Perpetrators frequently seek out for particularly trusting, more gullible kids. They work proactively to establish a trusting relationship with the minor. This also extends to the victim's family. The victim's family structure is the most important risk factor in child sexual abuse. For example, a child with both parents is at low risk of sexual abuse. The risk increases when the child lives with a step-parent or a single parent. When a child does not live with either parent or is a foster kid, he or she is 10 times more likely to be sexually abused. There are many factors of a child's life that can increase the risk of being sexually abused. Almost anything can enlarge the risk. For example, age is also a large factor. The most common age range for sexual abuse is 12 to 17, but children are most vulnerable between the ages of 7 and 13. And sadly, more than 20% of children are sexually abused before the age of 8.
The race of a child is also a big risk factor, specifically among children that are not white. Hispanic and African American children have a bigger chance of getting sexually abused. But it is not a specific race or age group that gets most assaulted. Most studies have reported that children with disabilities have a greater risk of being sexually abused. These children are abused the most because the perpetrator knows that the children cannot communicate with other individuals. It may seem that where it is most busy, a child has a larger risk of being sexually abused without anyone noticing. Children who live in rural areas are almost 2 times more likely to be identified as victims of child sexual abuse. Children who witness or are the victim of other crimes are significantly more likely to be sexually abused. No child is immune to sexual abuse. Who are perpetrators? Most sexual abusers are men, may be respected members of the community drawn to settings where they gain easy access to children like schools, clubs, and churches. Come from all age groups, races, religions, and social economic classes. Most victims know and trust their abusers. It isn't strangers that our children have to fear the most. 60% of perpetrators are some the child trusts. 30% are a family member and only 10% are strangers.
Where, when, and how does sexual abuse happen? Perpetrators establish a trusting relationship with the victim's family in order to access the child. They employ successively inappropriate comments, increasingly inappropriate touches, and behaviors so indigenous that the abuse is often well underway before the child recognizes the situation as sexual or inappropriate. Strategies are employed to gain the confidence of the victim. This includes the addition and withdrawals of inducements like attention, material goods, privileges, misrepresentations of society's morals and standards, and or the abusive acts themselves, and externalization of responsibility for the abuse onto the victim. 35% of convicted child molesters use threats of violence to keep the child from disclosing the abuse. 81% of child sexual abuse incidents for all ages occur in one perpetrator per one child circumstances. Children 6 to 11 years old are most likely to be abused in a multi-victim circumstances. Most of the sexual abuse against kids occur in the residence, typically of the victim or perpetrator. 81% of sexual victimizations of children under the age of 12 occur in a residence. Sexual assaults of children are most likely to occur at 8 a.m., noon, and 3 to 4 p.m. For older children, ages from 12 to 17 also have a peak of assaults in the late evening hours. 1 in 7 incidents of sexual assault perpetrated by juveniles occur on school days in the afternoon hours of 3 to 7 and with a peak from 3 to 4.
What are the signs of sexual abuse? These are the behaviors you may see in a child that is being sexually abused. They may seem distracted or distant at odd times. They may have sudden change in eating habits, may refuse to eat, lose or drastically increase appetite, have trouble swallowing, sudden mood swings like rage, fear, or insecurity. They may leave clues that provoke a conversation about sexual issues. They may develop new or unusual fear of certain people or places, refuse to talk about a secret shared with an adult or older child. They may write, draw, play, or dream of sexual or frightening images. Talking about a new older friend or suddenly has money, toys, or other gifts without reason could be signs of a perpetrator bribing. The victim might think of self or body as repulsive, dirty, or bad. Young children can exhibit adult-like sexual behaviors, language, or knowledge.
Some things you may notice in a perpetrator are unusual behaviors like making others uncomfortable by ignoring social events, emotional and intimate affection. Perpetrators refuse to let a child's limits prevent them from violating them. For example, like teasing or belittling language to keep a child from setting a limit, insisting on hugging, touching, kissing, tickling, wrestling with them, or holding a child even when the child does not want this physical contact or attention may cause triggering traumatic flashbacks. Perpetrators may turn to a child for emotional or physical comfort by sharing personal or private information that are normally shared with adults. Frequently pointing out sexual images or telling inappropriate or suggestive jokes with the children present are things they might say to a young, innocent child. They expose a child to adult sexual interactions without apparent concern. They have secret interactions with teens or children through games, sharing drugs, alcohol, or spending excessive time emailing, text messaging, or calling children or youth. Being overly interested in the sexuality of a particular child or a teen, they may have talked repeatedly about the child's developing body or interferes with normal teen dating. They insist on managing to spend unusual amounts of uninterrupted time alone with the child. They may do certain actions seeming too good to be true. They frequently babysit different children for free and take children on special outings alone. A perpetrator buys children gifts or gives them money for no apparent reason as a way to win their trust. They might frequently walk in on a children/teens in the bathroom. They also allow children or teens to consistently get away with inappropriate behaviors. All of these warning signs listed above are general indicators of sexual abuse, but many children do not actually disclose what happened, so it is up to attentive adults to recognize hints. After all, no child is immune to sexual abuse, and our children don't have to fear strangers the most.
I'm Kyra.
I'm Monica.
And I'm Belle.
Thank you.